If you walk through the massive hangar at the Smithsonian's Stephen F. Udvar-Hazy Center in Virginia, your eyes are naturally drawn to the giants, the Space Shuttle Discovery, the SR-71 Blackbird, and the Concorde. But sitting quietly amongst these legends is a smaller, stubby, and somewhat weathered fighter jet with its top panels flipped wide open. This is the Lockheed Martin X-35B, and it represents the climax of the most expensive and fiercely contested military procurement program in human history. In the 1990s, the United States Department of Defense had a massive problem. Their fleet of tactical aircraft, F-16s, A-10s, F-A-18s, and AV-8B Harriers were aging. Rather than building a separate replacement for each branch, the Pentagon decided to build one highly adaptable aircraft family. They called it the Joint Strike Fighter Program, or JSF. The ultimate challenge of the JSF was an engineering paradox. The aircraft had to be stealthy, it had to break the sound barrier, and crucially, for the Marine Corps and the British Royal Navy, it had to be capable of a short takeoff and vertical landing. The famous Harrier jump jet could take off vertically, but it was subsonic and lacked stealth. The Pentagon demanded an aircraft that could do it all. The competition came down to aerospace titans, Boeing with their X-32 and Lockheed Martin with their X-35. To achieve vertical lift, Boeing used a traditional direct lift system much like the Harrier, which channeled blistering hot jet exhaust downward. Lockheed Martin, however, took a massive, unprecedented risk. Led by Scott Works engineer Paul Bellecourt and developed alongside Rolls-Royce, Lockheed created the shaft-driven lift fan. Instead of just pointing hot engine exhaust downward, they placed a massive counter-rotating fan directly behind the pilot's cockpit. This fan wasn't powered by its own engine. Oh no, it was connected to the main jet engine at the rear via a physical drive shaft. When the pilot engaged the STOVL mode, a sequence straight out of science fiction occurred. Doors on the top and bottom of the fuselage snapped open to expose the lift fan. A clutch engaged, sending 29,000 shaft horsepower from the main engine to the front fan, blasting cool air downward. Simultaneously, the main engine exhaust nozzle at the rear swiveled 90 degrees downward using a complex 3-bearing duct. Smaller roll post nozzles on the wingtips vented bypass air to keep the aircraft perfectly balanced. It was brilliant on paper. The cool air from the front fan acted as a multiplier, creating massive thrust without melting the tarmac or getting sucked back into the engine intakes. But the complex mechanics mean higher chance of failure. Lockheed had to prove that this would actually work. To save time and money, they took their conventional prototype, the X-35A, stripped it down, and retrofitted it with the lift fan system, and the legendary X-35B was born. By the summer of 2001, the Joint Strike Fighter competition had reached its boiling point. Boeing was struggling to get their X-32 prototype to go supersonic. They had to physically remove its heavy STOVL hardware on the ground first. Lockheed Martin realized they had a golden opportunity to bury the competition by proving that their aircraft could perform its mission requirements in the exact same configuration. They planned an audacious flight test dubbed Mission X. On July 20th of 2001, at Edwards Air Force Base in California, U.S. Marine Corps Major Arthur Turbo Tomasetti, who, by the way, was the first U.S. Marine to fly all 3 variants of the X-35, strapped into the X-35B. His mission was to execute an aviation hat trick, 3 monumental feats in a single continuous flight. First, the short takeoff. Tomasetti pushed the throttle forward, and with the lift fan engaged, the X-35B surged into the sky after a roll of less than 500 feet. Secondly, the supersonic dash. Once airborne, the lift fans clamped shut. The aircraft transitioned smoothly into conventional flight, climbed to 25,000 feet, and accelerated past Mach 1. It was now a supersonic stealth fighter. And thirdly, the vertical landing. Returning to the base, Major Tomasetti slowed the aircraft, re-engaged the lift fan, and brought the jet into a stable mid-air hover. He gently descended, touching down vertically on a precision hover pad. The aviation hat trick was complete. No aircraft in history had ever achieved a short takeoff, a level supersonic dash, and a vertical landing in a single flight. The X-35B's flight test program was one of the shortest and most effective in aviation history, lasting from late June to early August 2001. Mission X proved the undeniable superiority of the shaft-driven lift fan. In October 2001, the Pentagon announced Lockheed Martin as the winner of the JSF program contract, paving the way for the F-35 Lightning II program that dominates the skies today. Having fulfilled its destiny, the X-35B prototype was retired. Recognizing its immense historical value, the Smithsonian Institution acquired the airframe in September 2003, and it was on display for opening day of the museum in December that same year. The X-35B is currently on display at the Udvar-Hazy Annex of the National Air and Space Museum, with its lift fan doors permanently opened and its rear nozzle pointed downward, forever frozen in STOVL mode. It serves as a permanent monument to a high-stakes engineering gamble, a daring test pilot, and the summer of 2001, when a single jet redefined what a combat aircraft could do. So the next time you find yourself wandering the vast hangars of the Udvar-Hazy Center, taking in the sheer scale of the space shuttle, or the sleek lines of the S-71, take a moment to stop by that stubby, open-panel jet. It might not look like it's the biggest or the fastest machine in the room, but it holds the DNA of modern air superiority, and it represents one of the greatest engineering gambles in aviation history. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the story of the X-35B, make sure to smash that like button, and it really helps to push the videos out to other aviation history fans. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe and ring the bell for notifications so you never miss a new episode. I want to hear from you down in the comments. What do you think is the most impressive piece of military aviation engineering? And if you're going to the Udvar-Hazy Center, what is your favorite aircraft on display? Let me know below.